We start with a major development in the case of child killer Michael Guyder. Straight to Nine's Damien Ryan, who's at the New South Wales Supreme Court. Damien, good morning. What's happened today?
We have a bombshell decision here, Davina. The serial pedophile and killer of 9-year-old Samantha Knight will walk free from Long Bay Jail on Thursday. Justice Button overruling the state government's demands to keep him locked up for another year. Instead, he's been placed on a 5-year strict supervision order. Now, in his judgment, Justice Button said he did not accept another period of incarceration for 12 months would serve any, quote, rehabilitative purpose. He said he's done all he needs to do in jail. As to psychiatrist evidence which was presented at the hearing, which stated that he was a high risk of reoffending, well, the judge said that risk could be mitigated or managed once he's in the community. In the court today was the mother of Samantha Knight. She has ridden this roller coaster for many, many years, and today she walked out. She was angry, she was disappointed, and she was very fearful of what could happen.
I don't even care about me. I actually care about the young woman who's sitting in there devastated. I care about all the other children that he abused. And I care that this might happen again to someone else. You know, there are cliches. Would you want him living next door to you?
Michael Guyder, as I said, will walk from jail on Thursday. He will be under incredible supervision. He will live in a halfway house attached to the jail, I believe Long Bay Jail. He will have to wear a band which will keep monitoring him for 24 hours a day, provide a weekly plan of what he's going to do each day or each week, and then a curfew. He'll have to live under a curfew, and of course the number one thing, stay away from where children might congregate. Now, we do know that the Attorney General, Mark Speaksman, is due to make an announcement sometime this morning, and the strong belief is that the government may challenge this decision, which was announced just half an hour ago.
A big story and so much more to come. We'll cross back to you, Damien, if there are developments. Thank you. We'll take you now to Dover Heights in Sydney, where an emergency operation is underway at a home engulfed in fire. Vicky Jardim's at the scene for us. Vicky, good morning. What can you tell us?
Yes, good morning, Davina. As you just said, a short time ago, the house just behind me became engulfed in flames. There were several calls to 000, and it just so happened at the time an off-duty firefighter happened to be walking past. He broke into the house, raced up to the top level to try and rescue the man, but he too became overcome with all the smoke and fire. Thankfully, more crews arrived to support him. The elderly man, believed to be in his 90s, was successfully brought out, but sadly he did go into cardiac arrest a short time later. He was taken to St Vincent's Hospital in a serious condition. The neighbours say he's a lovely man. He regularly talks to them while they go on their afternoon walks, and this is what one had to say.
Every day I sit and have a chat to him. He is the most beautiful, special man. He really, really is. When I saw the fire here and I came outside and I saw it was his house, I was like absolutely devastated and shocked. And I just pray and hope that everything's all right with him.
Now, Davina, it was quite an intense fire. The man was believed to be in his bedroom at the time, but the cause of the fire is still under investigation.
Vicky, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Let's go to Melbourne now, where a man and woman are being questioned over the death of an 18-month-old boy. Sam Kuchiara is in Langwarrin for us. Sam, you've spoken to the grandmother.
I have, Davina. She was in tears. She tells me she's absolutely heartbroken and she can't quite comprehend how this could have happened. She tells me her 18-month-old grandson was bubbly, he was full of life, and he absolutely adored playing with his trucks. His body was found at a home here in Langwarrin yesterday afternoon, and his mum and another man left here in handcuffs in the back of a police car. We don't know how this boy died, but police do say he suffered some injuries, which they found when they arrived. I've spoken with a few neighbours this morning. They tell me they heard blood-curdling screams in the moments before this all unfolded.
We just heard a blood-curdling scream about 3:30.
I could hear a man screaming quite aggressively to give the phone to him, and I could hear the lady crying quite hysterically.
It's very upsetting to know a child's died. His child's died, beyond belief.
Davina, the toddler's mum and that other man are still with police this morning. I'll bring you the very latest as soon as I have it.
OK, Sam, we'll leave it there. Thank you. A couple wanted over the tragic hit-run death of an international university student in Melbourne are still at large this morning. Police believe Shane Cochran and Lauren Hines were travelling in a vehicle which ran over 20-year-old Nasali Parara at Clayton in the city's southeast last Thursday. After allegedly dumping the car, the pair was filmed by security cameras nearby. Detectives suspect they were drug affected. A Sydney woman has been charged with negligent driving after a collision that left former NRL official Ian Schubert badly injured. The former NRL salary cap auditor and ex-international player was knocked off his motorbike as the woman's car turned in and out of a driveway in Randwick in the city's east on Sunday. Yesterday, the 63-year-old was undergoing surgery to try and save his foot. Well, now to politics. Now, reporter Jonathan Kersley for an update. Jono, good morning. Some new concerns about the slowing economy today.
Davina, the federal government clearly bracing for softer economic numbers when that data is released tomorrow. Annual growth in the economy could be as low as 1.4% with a sluggish final quarter. The statistics will go right up until the end of June, and the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, is blaming the election campaign in part for a sluggish final few months of the financial year. He's also trying to point to the ongoing US-China trade war as another reason behind those slightly sluggish figures expected tomorrow. And the fact the government is putting the warning signs out a day before this data is released is telling the government already trying to press the fast-forward button. It wants Australians to look ahead to the next quarter, which will take in the higher personal income tax cuts that came in after July 1 and the impacts of 2 rounds of interest rate cuts in June and July. There is another measure of the economy due out today, and that is the Reserve Bank's decision later this afternoon on whether or not interest rates will be cut again. If it does move, that would take it to a new historic low. But Labor is calling on the government to fast-track things like infrastructure spending in order to create jobs and try and get the economy moving just a little bit faster.
The problems in our economy have been there for some time before the election, and the economy has deteriorated since the election.
And I suspect the June quarter results will be soft. But what matters is the plan that is already in place to address that both now and into the future.
Underlying that plan, though, Davina, is one commitment from the Prime Minister and the Treasurer, and that is that forecasted budget surplus due next year. Remember that phrase it repeated over and over and over again during the election campaign about taking the surplus back into the black? Well, don't expect the government to spend big, because that commitment is what it largely hung its hat on during the election campaign, and it's not going to want to veer away from that.
We'll wait and see what happens, Jono. Thank you. Let's go to breaking news unfolding in the United States now, where the bodies of 8 people have been found after a dive boat fire in California. Our US correspondent Charles Croucher has the latest. Charles, what happened?
Davina, this call was made around 14 hours ago. That is a mayday call from this professional dive charter. It was on a 3-day dive, some 25 kilometres off the coast here of California. 39 people were on board the ship. 5 jumped to safety. They were crew that were already awake, but rescuers have described this as the worst possible scenario. That is the middle of the night, fire engulfing a ship when many people were sleeping down below the deck. As you said, the investigators have now found 8 bodies. That is 8 people confirmed dead. There are now grave fears for 26 others. They are presumed dead. However, rescuers and those that are looking at this situation, including the Coast Guard, aren't giving up hope.
We will search all the way through the night into the morning, but I think we all should be prepared to move into the worst outcome.
That ship, the Conception, is usually moored here at Santa Barbara. You may be able to see over my shoulder there is a big hole in the mooring. That is where that ship is meant to dock. The flag instead flies at half-mast, and there's a very sad community that is waiting and bracing for the worst. Davina.
Terrible, terrible story, Charles. Thank you. A man in his 50s has been arrested at Brisbane International Airport. Emily Prain has found out he was allegedly trying to flee the country after causing a fatal traffic crash.
A 52-year-old British national is right now in custody, preparing to be extradited to New South Wales to face criminal charges over yesterday's fatal crash. Police will allege Graham Belcher failed to stop after colliding with two motorcyclists, killing one man and injuring another at an intersection just over the Queensland border yesterday afternoon. A breakthrough in the investigation came around 2 this morning when both state and federal police pounced on Belcher at the Brisbane International Airport, where he was about to board a plane to Hong Kong after buying a one-way ticket to the UK. Tweedhead's detectives are now on their way to Brisbane, where they will make an application to bring Belcher back to New South Wales, where he's likely to face one charge of manslaughter. Police are still searching for the vehicle involved, believed to be a blue Hyundai i30 with Queensland registration 170ZCP. Anyone with information is being urged to call Crime Stoppers.
A new pedestrian and cycling bridge linking Brisbane's Kangaroo Point to the city's Botanic Gardens is a step closer to construction. Brisbane City Council has today announced the project is feasible after a preliminary business case. The price tag is an estimated $190 million, but more than 5,000 people